I think that there's a lot of good reporting going on in Iraq. I'm not one of these people who believes that nobody in Iraq is telling the truth. I met some incredibly courageous journalists working with mainstream media. I met a lot of their even more courageous Iraqi fixers who were doing most of the work and getting absolutely no credit. I think in a lot of cases it has to do with where the stories are played, whether there's any follow-up, whether there's any ripple effect in the sort of there are all these cues in American culture that tell people when to be outraged, and basically that's television. I mean, that's the talk shows on CNN and MSNBC, the sort of outrage machines, and they say, you know, be outraged about Michael Jordan, but don't be outraged about the attack of a hospital in Fallujah. I mean, I read that in the New York Times. It's not that it was censored, it's that it was reported on without comment. It's that the guardians of outrage in American culture never got outraged about that. I think that the team of journalists reporting for the Washington Post are absolutely extraordinary. Many of them are, you know, several of them speak Arabic. They have incredible connections. They've been extraordinarily brave. They don't get on television on the talk shows. Their editors do. Reviews with the people who are actively on the ground in Iraq for many of these news organizations, people at the Washington Post, people at Time Magazine, people at Newsweek. They very rarely are asked their opinion about what's going on in Iraq. They report the facts, they don't editorialize, and then their editors treat them in some ways like they're crazy. Like being in Iraq and having direct experience in Iraq somehow makes you a less credible source than a more credible source, because somehow you're biased by your own experience. And there's been a lot of attempts to undercut, to make sure that we don't hear those voices. I mean, somebody like Robert Fisk, who's been on the ground pretty much continuously, you know, he would be a very good person to, you know, talk to on those talk shows, particularly because he's an opinion writer and he does analysis for a living. I mean, some reporters aren't comfortable doing analysis, but he's somebody who obviously is. He would be treated as far too biased by experience. So it's almost like ignorance and lack of direct experience is a prerequisite for getting on U.S. talk shows and having an opinion on Iraq. It's not as simple as just saying it never makes it in the media. It's really an issue of amplification, but I think more importantly, it's the cultural cues that are transmitted through television in particular about what is a scandal. I mean, for better or for worse, we do somehow need to be told what is a scandal, and the people who position themselves as experts in this way, editorial writers in newspapers, but particularly the people who do the analysis on the talk shows and television, these are the people who decide that it's a scandal that Eastern Jordan told the truth at Davos, and not a scandal that the U.S. military has killed journalists in Iraq. And that's the problem.